Climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time. Increasing temperatures, rising sea levels, and extreme weather events are growing ever more common. What can we do about climate change? Innovative business models for clean energy and climate adaptation are a big part of the solution. Plenty of entrepreneurs have great ideas on how they can make an impact. However, it can be challenging to find the investment to get their projects off the ground or to grow their businesses. That's where PFAN comes in. The Private Financing Advisory Network is a global network of climate and clean energy financing professionals, offering free business coaching and investment facilitation to projects and businesses in developing countries, bridging the gap between investors and developers. The PFAN journey begins with an entrepreneur submitting a project proposal, detailing their investment needs. We select high potential projects or businesses and map a pathway to investment. The next step, business coaching, is at the heart of PFAN. We appoint an expert consultant from our network to provide targeted and unbiased one-on-one advice to help entrepreneurs refine their business plans and financial models, something which plays a key role in attracting financing. Once entrepreneurs are ready, we introduce them to suitable investors and, if necessary, provide further support to help make the deal happen. PFAN is funded by our donors, enabling us to provide these services for free. If you're an entrepreneur developing a project or scaling up an existing business in clean energy or climate adaptation, a consultant who wants to share your expertise, or an investor looking to make an impact, we would love to hear from you. Let's work together in creating a cleaner, greener planet where businesses are part of the solution.
I'm David Njugi. I'm the CEO of the Clean Cooking Association of Kenya, and it's my pleasure today to invite you to this webinar today, where we'll be looking at how PFAN can support ventures or businesses in the clean cooking sector, as well as the opportunities in carbon financing that are available in the sector, and how one can plug in terms of whether it's a project or a business. Last week we had very fruitful discussion on how PFAN finances clean cooking ventures and a broader perspective of financing for clean cooking and what investors are looking at, and it was a very insightful webinar. We hope same for today. And we've done this together with PFAN to just create a platform for members to appreciate and learn more about financing in this space. As you're aware, the Clean Cooking Association of Kenya is a business member organization that represents the interests of clean cooking stakeholders. And our main objective is to advocate for an enabling environment to catalyze the growth of the clean cooking sector and promote the adoption of clean cooking technologies, building the capacity of the sector members, and coordinating the sector so that it's more cohesive, it advocates as one voice, and represents the interests in a more coordinated manner. We have various ways that we engage with various partners, whether it's government, donors, financiers, partners such as PFAN, and we will be sharing more of these as we go along. For those who are not members of CCAK and in the sector and are interested in what you're doing, you're free to join. In the chat, we will share our contact details. Feel free to reach out, or if you have any questions during maybe follow up on how you can access support from CCAK or from PFAN, feel free to do that. We know that financing for the sector is critical. One of the major challenges that the sector faces is financing, and you hope that various means and modes of financing, such as carbon financing, really go a long way in supporting ventures to grow and invest and access markets. A lot of products are limited in geographical reach, mainly because either there's no working capital or capital to invest in more equipment, or maybe other operational challenges. And we hope that these kind of seminars and interactions will help to unlock the sector and make it grow to a good level, where we're able to provide solutions for the sector and for all Kenyans. Our target is to have universal access, that is as a country by 2028. It's an ambitious target, and it can't be business as usual. So we seek partnerships, we seek to support members to grow, to access finance, to expand, and advocate for an enabling environment to catalyze private sector investment in this space. So I would want to wish you, just to conclude, a very fruitful webinar. Feel it should be interactive. Let's ask questions, let's seek clarification where we need to. Let us raise issues that we think are pertinent to the discussion of the day, and feel free to reach out even after for further information or inquiry about this webinar today. Once again, receive my earnest appreciation for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it's a Friday to join us virtually, and wish you good and fruitful deliberations. Thank you. Patrick, over to you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to this webinar. My name is Patrick Thimba. I am the country coordinator for PFAN here in Kenya. And just to follow up from the brief introduction video that you had in the beginning, we are a group organization involved in advising low carbon and climate resilient businesses in developing countries, where we support projects developers to develop proposals which can enable them to get into private financing. PFAN mobilizes private financing to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and to build the climate resilience, contributing to the Paris Agreement and the SDGs, specifically the SDG number 7, 9, and 13, 17. So this is a follow-up webinar from the one we had last week, where we had the financing, how the opportunities for financing for clean cooking stoves businesses. And today we are having a very interesting and very valuable contribution, how you can incorporate carbon financing into the project financing in cook stoves. And therefore my desire is that all of us who are participating will be able to take advantage of this contribution from our friend Bill Farmer, who is an expert in this carbon finance. So at the end of before the end of the webinar, I'll be able to give you some information how you can apply for our services. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm Bill Farmer, chairman of the Uganda Carbon Bureau. And I'm just going to give you a rapid run through the business of tapping into carbon finance for cook stove activities. As the slides unfold, you'll see that we were one of the first movers in this topic, and we continue to do that. So can everybody see the first slide? Anybody see it? Screen sharing?
Yes, Will. Yes, we can see it. Please go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to be right. I've got the photos in the way here. Maybe that's better. Global warming and climate change. What you see there are extremes in northern Uganda, Teso. It's too dry, it's too wet. And of course, what you have down here now, next one, please. Okay, so I'm just, sorry, we just got to, that's right, we've got rid of the thumbnails, thank you. So I'm just going to click here. Yeah, okay. So what we've been doing ever since we started are using simple graphics because we need to explain climate change and carbon finance to our Cookstove partners, many of whom haven't ever done this before. Is that okay? Yeah, okay. So this is one of 3 slides. You're only going to get one where we show, can you see the cursor? The CO2 blanket around the planet, the carbon dioxide that's emitted by poor stoves and the three-stone fires, and the efforts by trees to store that CO2 again. And on the right-hand side, you can see the temperature will start to go up as the CO2 blanket thickens. I shan't show you the other 2, but this is just a basic illustration to audiences in cooperatives and businesses. CO2 blanket. Can you guys hear me? Any feedback? Should I just carry on talking to myself? Or I will, I'll just make the presentation.
Yes, we can hear you.
That's good, thanks a lot. This is a graph that I picked up downwind of the Paris Climate Change Agreement. You can see that up and down, up and down, up and down line, which indicates parts of carbon dioxide, parts per million, and how that graph has oscillated over the years, but now it's vertical. It's now 416 parts per million. So this is a serious challenge to the Cookstove fraternity and people operating forests. So a slide for many of my Ugandan colleagues. I posed the question, Uganda doesn't have many big stinking factories emitting CO2 and the like, but this is Uganda's contribution to global climate change. CO2 from the trees that used to be there are leaving that chimpanzee high and dry. So if we didn't have a greenhouse effect to keep us warm, we'd end up looking like this. Or if we have too much of a greenhouse effect, we're going to look like the Sahara Desert. So what's a carbon credit? It's an emission reduction of 6 greenhouse gases, the key ones. A carbon credit is equal to 1 ton of carbon dioxide that you didn't emit or you stored in your trees. And the UN's Clean Development Mechanism was the outfit that really got carbon finance going. But it's now in limbo. It's now using temporary measures. It's not issuing any more carbon credits right now or extending projects' life. The other carbon standards that we're talking to and getting involved in at the moment are the gold standard. We were involved with Fair Trade, helping them set up. And the Verified Carbon Standard is another first-class organization for carbon finance. So here's Fair Trade carbon credits. I've made multiple visits to their head office in Germany. And you see the ticks alongside respond to 2 CDM methodologies that involve cookstoves, either a more improved cookstove or a switch to a more renewable fuel like charcoal or wood waste. So that's really good for stove projects in East Africa. Fair Trade carbon credits are a sticker to add value. And if you want to know what 1 ton of carbon dioxide looks like, that's a balloon that was at the Copenhagen conference. So 1 ton of CO2 is the equivalent of a carbon credit. So one stove may emit 3 or 4 of those in a year. And for every one it doesn't emit, that woman will earn a carbon credit, 1 ton of CO2. And just to let you know, the person standing in front of the balloon is my daughter, who's now a doctor, Jenny Farmer. Okay, so here's a program of activities. A program of activities is not just doing project by project, but creating an umbrella under which you can have many projects. And we were the first group to create an umbrella POA, multi-country. We were the first to add a second methodology, the important AMS 1E fuel switch, maybe to renewable biomass, which we're now using to cover solar electric cookers. You don't burn anything. That's fantastic. We assist with members' ERPA contracts. And as the clean development mechanism is now operating on a temporary basis, we are actually moving all of our activities over to the gold standard. And if you need any details about that, Anna Mambia from Kenya, her email, if you haven't seen it, I'm happy to send to anybody because it has details about the CDM's problems. So if you have a program of activities, these are the steps you go through. The pin on the left, project idea note, and right on the right-hand side, the issuance of certified emission reductions called carbon credits. So we kicked off with the first project in northern Uganda. Then we discovered that we can have an unlimited number of component members underneath our umbrella. So you can see there, James Finlay, the tea estate in Kenya, is on board with us. RDIS, a religious group in Rwanda, is steaming away at the moment. And we've just added a new member that we're processing in Ethiopia. So we have a broad canvas of regional countries that we're working with. So carbon credits from improved stoves. There's a horrible little GECO, which is sitting right next to me, lots of CO2. Here is an improved one. Don't worry. Here's an improved one that replaces it, less CO2 pollution, it will earn carbon credits. So what happens is between those two stoves, an interested buyer may come along saying, I need to buy carbon offset credits because my factories are putting a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere in Germany, Britain, Japan, France. Can I buy some carbon credits? And when that happens, that little stove being used by a lady in a village in Uganda or Kenya produces cash carbon credits, meaning that those households can buy better stoves at a low price and they get free maintenance and other benefits. So here on the left is that traditional stove. It's using non-renewable biomass charcoal and it's very inefficient. It doesn't earn any CERs, meaning carbon credits. It emits about 4.5 of those balloons a year. But on the other side, if a better stove is there, it's going to create 3.5 carbon credits because its emissions are only one of those balloons. That's pretty cool. So going from big smoke to small smoke can earn you 3.5 carbon credits. They're going for anywhere between $12 and $17 a carbon credit right now. And that's multiplied by all the stoves. That's a significant amount of money for somebody with a stoves project. So here's another twist to the story. You can have that situation on the left, 3.5 carbon credits, little amount of CO2. But if you use the methodology AMS 1E and you're using wood waste, the CDM says that will not produce any CO2 emissions and you therefore earn 4.5 carbon credits. The money that your organization makes and the people using the stoves goes up. So carbon credits from improved stoves. On the left, business as usual. In the middle, business as usual, but still using non-renewable, they're looking like charcoal. But then if you have briquettes made from from waste in that stove, no emissions, nil. Okay, so you're going to earn that full amount of carbon credits. So to generate carbon credits, you've got to join a registered project that's already running on its own or an umbrella program of activities. The auditors check everything that we do for our members meticulously, and that really is a good use of the word. It's the stove users, the ladies using a stove, that actually create the emission reductions, and they obviously act as their first owners. So we say to people, don't work with people who you're not happy with. There are some carbon crocodiles out there in the market, so be careful. And think of the households as the people you need to maximize the benefits for. So there are some key features of programs of activities for carbon credits for stoves, such as the organization we run called ICSIA, Improved Cook Stoves for East Africa. We can help an unlimited number of projects underneath our umbrella. Adding a project is really straightforward. Our umbrella, as we've proven it, covers a multitude of countries, including South Africa and Lesotho. It's the cheapest and quickest way of getting on board. Under the CDM, that umbrella lasts for 28 years. But as I say, CDM's got problems at the moment. Individual projects that join us can be on board for 21 years, again, under CDM rules. And renewable biomass such as briquettes is the way to go. Stove users generate the emission reductions, that's their role. You as projects organize the distribution, tracking, maintenance of the stoves and all that kind of stuff, and we guide you. You can also add local groups to your project if we approve them, because distribution partners need to be able to find where the stoves are. So you may need to grab some other community groups. And we really monitor what happens with your activities, and we report to a UN auditor once a year. They verify our report, make a site visit, and then recommend the issuance of carbon credits. And that's exactly what happened to me in Kericho last year with the auditor. So here in this picture, it shows in the middle the kind of projects and organizations you have at your disposal, supplier organizations. We are the group at the bottom called the Coordinating and Managing Entity. From your end, you go down to the households. You can offer the ladies lower prices for the stoves, free maintenance each year. Umbrella fees get paid from the money that the suppliers earn from selling the credits. We have monitoring people, testing labs, and that's the picture, the circularity of how you could start with carbon credit buyers down the bottom, waiting to know that you've got some carbon credits. So our fair trade principles, we've had these from day one. Women create and own the carbon credits. Members such as yourselves, your organization keeps 100% of the carbon credits, and then you use them in ways that help your people. Our operations are funded on a service fee basis for the actions that we carry out. But any rises in the price of carbon credits go directly to you in our model. And we're helping 3 groups at the moment with forward contracts where people are paying money upfront. One of them was a PFAN supported group in Rwanda. You get the money up front, your working capital problems are over. All you have to do is deliver the carbon credits according to a schedule. And we spend a lot of time helping our members with tips and advice. And this kind of diagram here shows what we expect from each group to produce. We have an artist that puts their ideas into ink and color, showing top left-hand corner, the old stove and the new stove. In the middle, Mrs. Yellow Shirt is signing the handover agreement of passing to Mr. Blue Shirt her carbon credits. And in return, she's going to get an affordable stove in the bottom right. In the bottom center, she's going to get it maintained for free each year. And then in the bottom on the left, the community of stove users decide what they're going to do with the net money that's left over from the sale of their carbon credits. Here's Finley's, James Finley's. Here's the equivalent diagram for them. They're using a different type of stove. It's a portable one that they're building into the houses on their tea estate. And this is a diagram in process at the moment. So from concept to carbon credits, you need a qualified design of a good stove. You need authorized suppliers, people who are the agents, and we know how to find them. You need to have a monitoring plan, and that equals carbon credits. So what happens is the baseline savings between the old stove and the new stove times the number of stoves sold minus any dropout rate that gets you the number of carbon credits you get. So our take-home messages for project organizations such as yourself, perhaps, and also sponsors and donors, don't be duped by deals that sound too good to be true. Check them out well. You can read the rest for yourself. You've got a duty of care to your households and the schools. But carbon income can sustain programs way after a donor gets involved. Donors are good for helping you get off the ground, but they won't stay with you together. And the women's stove users, they're your #1 clients. So for Kenyan projects interested in joining the ICSIA multi-country POA, ask more questions, email or call us. Make a decision about promoting improved stoves to your members. We help everybody with a business plan. We have a template that's very much depends on the PFAN business plan template. And we have a dedicated financial spreadsheet that we train all new project members on. It's good for you to start looking for finance now, either with PFAN or with us in the way that we also gather tips on who's funding Cookstove projects. We signed a confidentiality agreement and a memo of understanding with everybody who enters our office basically. And we ask each group to designate 1 or 2 key staff to work with us so that they really become experts. And we give a progress report once a month to see how things are going. If you've got any questions, fire them at me by email through this Q&A session coming up. We delight in bringing people into the picture of how to help poor households with a better cooking setup using a lot of carbon finance and the support of groups such as PFAN. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much for that presentation. I just want to inform our people who have logged in that this presentation will be available to all the participants. There's so much information that Bill presented. Most of it is technical, but it is very, very important for us in the climate finance and all those projects to be able to tap into carbon credits, as Bill has told us. So I hope you have questions. Are there any questions that Bill would like to respond to?
The Clean Development Mechanism is an entity of the United Nations. The gold standard is made up, was launched by a number of international NGOs. So it's nothing to do with the UN or any particular government. And it's always focused on the sort of voluntary carbon market. You're not being forced to do something because you're a big polluter in Europe, say. And it's had very much its eye on the Sustainable Development Goals. So right now, the problem with the CDM is that the Kyoto Protocol, under which it was established, finished on the 31st of December last year. Most people just expected that this would carry on under the Paris Agreement terms, but it didn't, it stopped. There was no COP meeting last year. So it suddenly announced toward the end of the year that it wouldn't be issuing any more carbon credits or renewals of crediting periods until the next big meeting, which is in Scotland in November, takes place. And people like Anne Omambia, who we know well from Kenya, sent round a note just saying it's called temporary measures. So you can do all the work you like, but you may not get an actually 100% okay carbon credit. So that's a huge risk to take for a year. So as soon as we saw that text, we started the exercise that we're deeply involved in now, which is to shift across to the gold standard. Their paperwork is quite challenging. If we thought the CDM was bad, I guess there's a competition between them and gold standard, but we're getting there slowly because we have an obligation to each of our members to keep them moving forward, and they look towards us for technical support. Somebody was asking about what does POA mean and what is the email address of ICSIA? So POA stands for Program of Activities. That's an umbrella that we set up, and it can have an unlimited number of members. So that I was, somebody scrolled down. I didn't see the second part of that question. POA. And what is the email address of ICSIA? It's the last slide in what I just presented. So it's mail at ugandacarbon, one word, .org. Let me read that again. It's mail, M-A-I-L, at ugandacarbon, one word, .org. And that will get onto my into my inbox. How does carbon credit work in terms of distributors and end users? Distributors are the component projects that come under our umbrella. With each of them, sit and they describe the ins and outs and the efficiencies or inefficiencies of what they're doing. And we tell them that they have an obligation to the people who acquire their stoves. It's not a question of just ordinary business, but they can reduce the price of those stoves substantially in anticipation of the carbon money coming in. So end users, they get a briefing. The organizations that want to join us, they have multiple training sessions with us here in our office in Kampala, where we often have 3 or 4 groups at the same level of development coming together, and we have a good day's briefing, nice lunch, and then off everybody goes with a sense of what's in it now. So somebody's asked here, what's the highest amount of carbon credits for the best cook stoves you've worked with? There are different types of cook stove. The latest one we have, which is being tested at the moment for rating, is the solar powered cook stove, electric cook stove, which is amazing because it doesn't use any fuel that you have to burn. So I think that's going to be a high performer. Let me just think. 4 or so carbon credits per stove per year isn't a bad figure. A lot would depend upon the baseline that it's being compared to. So there are no snap answers here. It involves putting it into our spreadsheets and then pulling the lever to see, okay, that's what you get. But of course, this is a game where you need economies of scale, where we say to people, you probably need 3,000 to 4,000 households in the first year, year and a half to make it financially viable. You can't dribble along with a few hundred households because the costs will outweigh the benefits. And so it's always really important for us to meet a group stone cold for the first time and get them to tell us what their plans are. And then we spend the rest of the morning suggesting better and more efficient ways. Does Uganda Carbon Bureau also deal with other technologies apart from clean cook stoves? For example, industrial briquettes? No, we don't talk about industrial briquettes because I think that's a different thing. We have a big company here whose boilers we looked at right at the beginning, and they wanted to make a switch over to wood waste. But we couldn't do that under a cook stove project, even though it was burning wood. Please reiterate the process for new cook stove companies from designing a technically good stove. We don't necessarily ask everybody to have their own stove. What we do, what we have in our office is we're surrounded by different stoves from Kenya, from Uganda, from South Africa, all over the world. And we say to people, you're taking on a lot with a big distribution program. If you're also thinking of manufacturing at the same time, that's a lot more money and a lot more effort and a lot more staff. So think carefully about buying in bulk locally made stoves at an affordable price and focus your efforts on tracking the stoves, making sure they're maintained and that your number of households wanting them is on the steady upward rise. So a member under our umbrella does not have to actually make the stoves. They can buy them from wherever they like. And we say we are stove neutral, if that makes any sense. I think I answered that one. Thank you for the opportunity. My question is this: can carbon credits apply to companies making commercial steam stoves for schools that use huge consumption of solid fuel? Yes, if companies are making a large institutional stoves, whether they're probably wood powered, yes, they can come and talk to us. So in all of our paperwork, it says it's institutional stoves, meaning big ones, or household stoves, meaning ones for a normal size household. Why is a high deposit charged on entrepreneurs? So much money is held up in the carbon credit, which is very inconveniencing. Well, it's not quite like that. It's not a high deposit. You've got to get a project up and running, and you've got to get organized with everything. So you need to raise funds at the beginning, find investors or grant makers. And then you've got to operate for at least a year, if not a year and a half, before you have a large enough number of cook stoves to earn you a certain number of carbon credits and get a good price for them. So if you don't invest at the beginning, then you won't get any carbon credits unless you've made that number of deliveries to your members. And a critical thing is, we don't allow people to join us who are planning just to sell these stoves in various marketplaces. It's absolutely vital that the sales agreement logbooks are all signed by individuals and groups that know how to find their members, whether it's through the church, a medical setup, a coffee cooperative, something like that. It's essential that any project developer has to be able to find the stoves every year for testing. And testing is done at random, and the auditor comes and visits households at random. So you never know. If you are unlucky, you might find that stoves have disappeared, in which case you're going to get that same percentage drop in the number of carbon credits. So there are lots of practical tips that we give to our members. And I'm pleased to say they're doing okay, despite COVID and despite the CDM grinding to a bit of a halt. Who else is here? Esther, good afternoon. What would be the benefit of working together compared to designing a POA on your own? Well, the learning curve for setting up a POA is horrible. So I would just say, you don't want to do that. It's like saying, here's a big bus. Why should I get on the bus when I could get on a boda and off I go? And you think, yeah, but on the bus when it's raining, you're protected and the guy knows where he's going, whereas the boda guy might not. So we have established a program of activities that extends now from in the north in Ethiopia down to Lesotho. And it means people can start very quickly. Come and join something that's already well established. We invested 3 to 4 years of solid work and work afterwards. So we have a lot of skill now, and not just us in the office, but all of our network partners who've worked with us. In which African countries are you active, said Dan. The most active ones are Uganda, Rwanda, and Kenya. And we're full of expectation for Ethiopia. We've got the letter of approval from the Ethiopian government. It's an amazing organization that we're working with. It's a faith-based group, Mekane Jesus, and they are known across all of Ethiopia. Can biogas companies tap into the carbon credit finance? They can. We set up a program of activities umbrella for biogas, in which the first project was the Kenya Farmers outfit working on biogas, but we sold that in the end. But it's possible. It's possible. Do you mean a supplier? I get paid, and what's the frequency of payment? Who will follow up with the households after we have already cooked stoves to them? well, you as the project developer, you are the group that supplies cook stoves that you think your target households want. You run briefing and stakeholder meetings with those target groups. For industrial briquettes, I don't know of anybody right now in Uganda that's got industrial briquettes as such. There may be some smashing up raw timber and then turning it into compressed briquette lumps. There's a Danish group, CT Nielsen, CT Nielsen, who we've been talking to because they have village briquetting equipment at an affordable price. So anybody interested in that, please let me know. Do I have to be a cook stove manufacturer to enter the carbon market? You certainly do not. You can get from anybody else, buy them in bulk, either in your home country or in Africa or some of the imported ones. So you can very definitely use a third party's carbon credits. Funded in 1 week's time. Is that normal? I haven't heard of people doing that before, but it's a normal business practice to put a deposit down until all the forms are filled, because if the forms are not filled, you will never earn a carbon credit. Without the form, without we call it a sales agreement logbook, if that's not present, the auditor will strike it out and he will pro rata. If that happened to 10% of the population of stoves, he'll remove 10% of the carbon credits. So you need to get well trained by us to know how to play the business. How can we as a company become your member? You send me an email and tell me what you're planning to do. We've got just send me an email and we will send you back a get to know you questionnaire. So we send that get to know you questionnaire so we get the first idea of what you want to do. And then we take it from there. Anybody else? I'm just looking. Many thanks. For briquette companies that only sell fuel to schools and industry, would we be eligible to join your POA? It's difficult for fuel providers to get carbon credits. Well, I think you need to package them together. That you need, the starting point is having a good stove. If you have a good stove, you're going places, and then you can decide where to get your charcoal made out of waste, or where to get the wood leftovers. So the critical thing is, have you got a stove that the communities you're talking to want to have in their homes? I see open 3 more. CF Nielsen, are you their distributors in Kenya? Says Vipu Amin. I'm not, but we've had a lot to do with them over the past few years. And we've just finished a forestry project with a Danish group. We just found that CF Nielsen is so slow. They've got a really nice village briquetting line using manual workers plus a bit of machinery. And I know they've been active with Del Monte in Kenya, turning the waste from there into briquettes and useful things. But if anybody wants details, people saying, I mean, we are their distributors. Oh, when you wrote it the first time, it's written here, you are their distributors in Kenya. Okay, fine. Not a problem. Keep us in the picture and tell them they haven't been to Uganda for quite some time. We're all the time looking for groups like that. Let me see on the other side. Greenyard panelist. Oh, please log in on our website. Thanks, everyone. I don't think these are questions. I think these are more statements. Up here. No, it's not scrolling up, but let's have a look. Anything scrolling down, scrolling up? Didn't see it. No. Sorry, oh, there really are some more questions up the top. Sorry, guys. Those of you who are at the top, I am Danson, briquettes from Kakamega. So thank you very much for your time.
Billy, we had more questions. Maybe I can read them out.
Okay, sure. I just thought there was...
From the Q&A, I just helped to read them out. There was one on the organization I work for depends on the population census to come up with intervention measures. The next census will be in 2029. Will this program still be there for us to determine whether or not our intervention measures have worked?
Do you want me to answer that, Mariam?
Yes, it was a question.
Okay, it should be, yes, for sure. The carbon market isn't going to go away. It's going through a major transformation heading to the COP in Scotland in November. So it will definitely be around. In fact, extra effort is being promoted across the world to boost private sector action on climate change. And that starts with incentivized activities that can earn carbon credits for their members. And the cook stoves is one of the best examples, easily. Relatively affordable units, and off you go. So yes, definitely, positive answer to Mariam.
What if I am a manufacturer of stoves, and am I eligible?
Yeah, we're running out of time now, but in principle, you're eligible if you have networks of people that you can always find with your stoves. If you're just selling from a duka or from the back of a pickup and you never see those people again, then you'll be in trouble.
Well, the last one, how much will it cost for me as a stove distributor to set up the carbon credit mechanism with PFAN?
You don't set it up directly with PFAN. PFAN can help you find co-investors that you might want to approach, might be able to give you grants or soft loans. I think that's going to be PFAN's role, would be to have a dialogue with you of what you're planning to do, and then we can tell you whether you've got a viable operation there in front of you. So look at that email address of mine on the last slide, mail@ugandacarbon.org, and we'll be delighted to pick up a thread with you.
Another one, what if the average clean cook stoves earns per year? What is the average clean cook stoves earn per year? If we have 3,000 homesteads with clean cook stoves, how much earning would that be per year? Estimation.
Well, it could be 3 to 4 carbon credits, but it all depends on the thermal efficiency test, which we use Prof. Kithinji's laboratory at Nairobi University for in Kenya. First, you need the big picture, and we're very happy to help you go from the big picture down to the details. And happy to help anybody who's listening as well.
After a company starts a carbon credit program, how long does the company earn carbon credits in years?
It depends, that's the CDM rule, but I suspect that will be changed at the end of the year. You could have 21 years of membership under the umbrella, but I think it will come down to more like 15 years with the gold standard. But the critical thing is we are all alive to what changes are taking place in Scotland in November. That's going to be a critical time for the future of the carbon market.
Thank you, Mariam. And because of the time, we may have to have a brief presentation of how to apply for PFAN support. Thank you, Bill, for that presentation. As I said earlier, we will share more information about the presentation. One thing I need to clarify is that carbon credits will add value to your project. And for us in PFAN, as I said earlier, our services are to help you to support you to develop your proposals. And for you to get our support, you have to apply you have to register your business in our website. Our website is www.pfund.net, and it is a very easy submission to submit your application. You give us your details on online, and after we evaluate your details, we will be able to respond to you. And then you'll be given how to log in to Climate Invest. And then from there, we will be able to evaluate your project and provide the support where necessary. And I must also mention that we are not financiers, but we support you to connect you with financiers. Our services, you don't have to pay for our services. For the consultants that we engage for you, we will meet that cost. So please, we look forward for you to apply your project, submit your projects in the application on our website, and we assure you that we will respond as soon as possible. Maybe David or Mariam, you can conclude, but for me, from here, from Kenya, I want to thank you so much for participation. I will send my email to you also, that you can send me any request you may have. Also, our regional coordinator, Wilfred Moria, is available too, because we have he covers this area, this region, which is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Ethiopia. And we are willing, and we will be very grateful to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick and Bill, for the presentation and taking time to take us through the carbon credit schemes and carbon financing and how it works. It's quite a lot of details. As Patrick had mentioned, these will be shared with the participants, so do not worry in case maybe there's something that was skipped or hurried. You'll be able to have the presentation. I would like to appreciate PFund for taking time and for our partnership. We hope that our members will take up the opportunity and reach out to you. We'll keep following up and sharing with them the ways to do that, and as we continue to collaborate. So thank you to everybody who has taken time to participate in this webinar. We appreciate your time. We look forward to more engagements as CCAK. We promise to have more and more relevant webinars and information sharing platforms like these as we move along. Asanteni sana, and look forward to engaging later. Thank you.